think we're live.
We are live.
Awesome. Let's probably wait a couple of minutes for people to join
Yep.
us. Uh, it's funny when we tried this platform, Jess. I remember we're trying to figure out whether we could put like background music for waiting. Just like when you're
Yeah.
on the phone. I think
Like
there's a
you're on
way.
my phone.
Uh,
Yeah, we'll wait a couple of minutes until people come.
yeah, absolutely. Awesome.
Fab.
All right. Harnessing AI.
Yep.
Let's give people a couple of minutes to join us.
And then we'll get going. How are you feeling this morning, Hugo?
Good. Actually, it's pretty good weather for us here in Melbourne, so we are lucky.
It's sunny today, 31 degrees.
Yeah, I know. I feel like this summer has been pretty. I think it's about the worst summer I've seen since I've been in Australia for like maybe 11 years.
I know. It's taken its while to get there, but the 44 degrees days are very hot.
Yeah, definitely.
Very hot.
We have people joining us from a little bit across Australia, across the country, which is good.
Yeah. Shall we get started?
For sure. Let's get started.
Yep, fab. So, good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining us and taking time out of your day. So, my name is Jess. I'm the marketing coordinator here at Gravity CX. And before I hand everything over to Hugo, I just wanted to run through some housekeeping rules. So, this webinar is being recorded and we'll give you a replay link at the end of the event. I'll run through that a little bit later. And then at the end of the session, we do have a little bit of a Q&A. So you can submit questions throughout the whole webinar through the chat icon on the right of the screen. And I'll save the questions for you throughout the webinar just so nothing's missed. And we want the session to be as interactive as possible for you guys. If you've run into any issues with the webinar as well, we do recommend using it on Google Chrome. So if you run into problems, switch over to that and that should solve everything. So we are really excited to introduce you to Gravity CX. We are a Premier Zendesk partner and we essentially help businesses optimize customer experience. So in today's session, we'll cover some of the key strategies that are shaping CX today, what's working, what isn't working, and how you can apply these insights to your own processes essentially. Before we get started, we do have a few polls throughout the session and we just want to understand the audience a little bit better. So the first one on our end is just what are your biggest sort of challenges right now in customer support? If you could answer that for us, that would be great, just so we can understand a little bit more. Whilst you do that, I'll let Hugo introduce himself.
Thanks, Jess. Awesome. Thanks everyone for being here. I'm Hugo. I'm one of the sales director here at Gravity CX, yeah, really good to be able to run those type of webinar. Bear in mind, this is our first one, so we're keen to get some feedback at the end. But yeah, we like Jess mentioned, we've been working in the CX space for a while now, and today's presentation is really around gathering all the insight that we've accumulated over the couple of years that we've been working in the AI space and seeing what AI can do for CX, and share some of that insight with you, so that hopefully at the end of the webinar, you get a bit more understanding of what AI can do for you from an operational perspective. So just getting started in here, obviously, maybe 2 years ago when we were talking about AI, when we were discussing with customer about different AI opportunity and initiative, it was a bit of a testing. Hey, let's run a very small pilot. We're still unsure whether we can put AI in front of a customer. Obviously, now we're beyond that phase, right? So we are seeing right now a lot of organizations deploying AI capability in front of the customer, and we're also seeing some really measurable results for those different customer. And the important thing to understand is that it's not just CX. Obviously, customer experience is a big space, but that also applies to different business function, right? So any function in the business that basically need to answer inquiry, whether it's from your customer or from your employee, it also applies to that. So we're looking at potentially the HR team, but also the IT people, right? So there is a broad use case for AI, and hopefully at the end of this webinar you'd be able to kind of understand the different strategy that are out there and hopefully understand what might fit for your business, or at least what to start with. So one of the two things that we would cover today really are kind of two strategy. One would be AI assisted, and then AI deflection.
Fab. Thanks, Hugo. Yeah, I guess the next poll takes us into understanding a little bit more about where you are today with AI in customer support, where AI sits within your CX strategy. It would be really great if you could answer that question for us as well, just so we can understand a little bit more about your setup and help you a little bit better. It should start now, so if you could do that for us, that would be great.
Wonderful. Thanks, Jess. This is just to get a grasp of who's in the room and where you are in your journey. So let's get started. And I'm going to start in with the very first strategy that we're going to go over. Just keep in mind that the two things that we're going to cover, the two main strategies that we're going to cover, can be done in parallel, and you should be able to explore both. So it doesn't mean that one strategy is best for your business and you can't do the other. What we would recommend, if you have the resources and the time, do both. Otherwise, you can pick one to start with. And so the first strategy that we're going to cover is what we call the AI assisted strategy. That strategy, we see a lot of success with businesses that are mainly B2B, organization that handle complex ticket, complex inquiry that generally required, internal collaboration, generally multi-touch, where we can't really solve the issue in one go. We have to kind of investigate, maybe have some human judgment in the loop in there. And so the main outcome of this type of strategy and this type of initiative, the main goal is to really amplify your team's capability to answer customer query. And so in this context, when I say customer, this can also be your employee, right? So if I'm part of an IT team or an HR team, technically my customer are internal customer than my employee. So customer in this sense will be interchangeable. So what does an AI assisted strategy look like, right? And so if you just break down what the flow is, what we're talking about AI strategy in CX is you basically have someone who is raising and sending an inquiry to a team, right? This can be an email, this can be filling out a form. There is an inquiry that's being sent. And that AI assisted strategy involves a couple of things. The first thing that's involved in the AI assisted strategy is to be able to use AI to automatically detect the intent of the strategy. So if I send you a very long email, we want to be able to read that email, understand its intent, and once we are able to do that, we can actually start doing some very interesting things, such as automatically sending that inquiry to the right team. So if you look at this little diagram here, this little image, we have someone who potentially bought a bike from us, and they've sent us an email and they'd like to book a bike consultation. Or support has skill-based routing, and pre-AI era, you would have, let's say, a level 1 team who'd be sitting there, opening the email, reading through it, and understanding that this needs to be escalated to the bike expert team or someone who has bike expertise. Now, because we have this deployed and we can actually detect the intent, we don't have to have manual read of the email. We can automatically understand what this email is about and automatically route this to the right team. So that's the number one things that we can do. And the second part of this strategy is really around, well, what do we do when the team receives that inquiry, right? When we open the ticket, when we open the email, can we have an AI that can assist that agent into replying to the customer? Now, how do we do that? We basically have internal SOPs. So you might have internal procedure that are, very unique to your business processes. You might have internal knowledge article, or if you have a ticketing platform, which we will touch on in this presentation, we can also use your historical customer interaction that are related to that email, and potentially have AI assist in potentially generating a response directly to the customer. while your agents still maintain control. So the combination of this basically really allow to increase the first reply time and allow your team to really be very efficient around how they can reply to customer. And so again, right, in this webinar, we'd love to show things. So we're going to do a quick demo again, right? Those are very short demonstration. I'm not going to go over a whole range of things, but I just want to give you an idea of what that might look like, from a customer sending an email all the way to your team receiving that, triaging that email automatically to the right people, and seeing what that might look like in action. So for this kind of demo, we are going to look at a very simple use case where we have a customer, Sue. She purchased a pair of shoes from us. We are an e-commerce company. We sell shoes. And unfortunately, in this email, she received the shoe and the color was wrong. And so she's sending us an email to a customer support team to request a refund. And she's giving us her order number as well, which is great. So let's look at what that looks like when we have an AI-assisted strategy in place. So again, I'm going to switch screen here. This is Zendesk. This is a ticketing platform. I'm going to go over why you need a ticketing platform, and that's really a prerequisite. If you don't have a ticketing platform in place right now, this is really the step 0 of your capability of being able to deploy AI initiative throughout your operation. So what's happening here is that we've sent an email. This is connected to Zendesk, and that email will then create a ticket. As a company policy, before this strategy was deployed, we used to have our GCX shop team here to actually open every single email and then decide to escalate them or not. As a company policy, every single refund request need to automatically be escalated to finance. And so because we have this strategy, we can intelligently triage this email and send this directly to the finance team. So you can see here, I've just refreshed. Sue just sent us an email. And what we've been able to do is to actually read the email and automatically detect the intent. And the intent is that customer wants a refund. And you can see here, as the finance team, that ticket is directly in my bucket. It's been automatically triaged and routed to the right people. And so what that means is you're basically saving a lot of time. If you are currently manually triaging inquiry, you can reduce that time by at least 90%, right? And so that can be significant if you have a lot of inquiry coming in. So that's the number one. That's the intelligent triage. We want to detect the intent. We want to analyze the ticket and have an AI to do that for us as soon as the ticket and the inquiry is received. Now, the second part of that strategy, if you remember, I'm sure you do, is really related to how do we support your team? How do we empower the team, the agent who needs to reply to that inquiry, and help them kind of accelerate their ability to reply to the customer, but also make sure that it's accurate. And so what you're seeing here is obviously that strategy is completely deployed on Zendesk. It's actually using something called Zendesk Copilot that allows us to do that. And you can see here, there's a couple of things that has happened. We are able to detect interesting things in the email of Sue. We can see that there's an order number here. You can see it's highlighted in blue. We can do a whole bunch of different things here. But more importantly, we as a company, we actually have a procedure of how and what we need to do to be able to issue a refund. That includes the information we have to collect before being able to do that, the system we need to talk to be able to check whether the customer is eligible for a refund. And you can see here that there is actually an AI assistant that is generating that answer for me as a support agent. And you can also see that it is smart enough to see that, hey, I know right now that we already have the order number, which is something that we need to be able to issue a refund. But for us to also issue a refund, we actually need the product SKU as well. And you can see in the answer here, hopefully that's not too small, the generated answer is smart enough to actually request that information to the customer. And not only this, we can actually take action, right? So in this case, this is Zendesk ticketing platform. We can change the ticket status for us. We can add a tag. So why is this critical and why is this a big shift in CX overall? We are actually redefining the role of support agent. And why are we redefining the role? You know, pre-AI era, as a support agent, my job is to open this email, based on my knowledge and onboarding of the company, I know we need to have a product SKU. And so I will start typing this answer manually. I will get back to Sue and try and get that information. So I was the actor of replying. All of a sudden, we're moving away from being a total actor and having to reply to becoming a manager, right? We are supervising a little AI assistant that is trained on my knowledge, is trained on our internal SOP, is trained on our historical customer interaction. And when the ticket is open, it can generate an answer for me. And all I really need to do, what I need to become good at, is supervising those answers, making sure that it's accurate. If it's missing anything, we want to be able to edit that, right? But we also want to be able to take back control so we can turn it off, right? So that is a bit of a shift in terms of how the general support agent role is shifting. And ultimately speaking, with a strategy like this, as a support agent, I will be opening an inquiry, reviewing, approving, moving on, reviewing, approving, moving on. So what does that mean in terms of the result that we can expect for a strategy like this, right? So the good thing about AI initiative and AI strategy is that they are, generally speaking, very easy to measure in terms of making sure that we're getting good value, making sure that there's return on investment, and making sure that everything is moving up, right? And so for this type of strategy, which is the AI assisted strategy, the main thing that we generally look at is the average number of tickets handled per day. So if you have a team of 10 of support agent, the industry baseline, depending on your industry, obviously, is on average 20 tickets a day that anyone any day can handle. With a strategy like this, we want this number to go up to 25 or 30. And so all of a sudden, you're still having a team of 10, but in reality, you're now having a team of 13 or 14 without the additional headcount cost. And so your cost of growth goes down and your capability increases drastically. Not only this, but there's a whole range of other metrics that are being improved by having a strategy like this. Your first response time is reduced, as you can see, because we send the inquiry to the right person straight away, and there's a generated answer that is very often accurate, we can reply to customer much faster. And so I'm sure you're all in the CX world, you know that this is a cascading aspect of improving your customer satisfaction core. Also improving your agent satisfaction, right? So my job now, instead of having to reply manually and use my expertise to upskill, etc., if I have a little AI assistant, I don't know, it's just much more fun to respond to customer, right? So you'll have, generally speaking, better team satisfaction. And so that's kind of like that strategy for now. And before we get over to the second one, I think there's probably some things that we'd love to know, right, Jess, about the audience?
There is, definitely. Thank you so much for that demo. It was great to see everything in action. So the final poll on our end is just to understand a little bit more about your current setup. So what is your current setup? Do you have a ticketing platform in place? This will just help us sort of tailor insights a little bit better to understand your situation. So yeah, if you could answer that for us, that would be great.
Thanks, Jess. Awesome. So we're going to switch over to the second strategy, which is, ultimately speaking, slightly different in terms of what we want to achieve, and sometimes fit slightly different use cases. And so that strategy is what we call it AI deflection. AI assisted strategy and AI deflection strategy is just terms that we've just coined or created. There's probably other people calling it that way, but we just like it to make it simple, right? So AI deflection is another strategy that can be deployed. And generally speaking, when we look at this type of strategy, it generally fits a B2C business where there's a high volume of inquiry, lots of ticket coming in, lots of customer inquiry coming in. Generally speaking, a lot of those inquiry are what we call one-touch resolution, where we can resolve and answer the question in one shot by one reply, whether it's a phone call, an email, or someone filling out a form or chatting with you. And then very often, because it's high volume, there is a lot of repetitiveness involved in that. And if we look at the previous experiment that we did with the customer wanting a refund, if you're in retail, obviously this is probably something that's very repetitive, very common, high volume, specifically if you're in the consumer space. And so with this strategy, the main idea, if you compare it to the previous one, the ticket, the inquiry is received by your team. The question is, how do we bring a lot of efficiency in there? This strategy is basically saying, we don't want this inquiry to come to our team. We want to be able to have an AI agent to handle this entire conversation and resolve the customer problem on the spot, and only escalate and create an inquiry and create a ticket to our team when it falls short and we need some human involvement in the room, right? So how does that work in a nutshell? Realistically, the way you would start thinking about a strategy like this is, first of all, you need to kind of understand your most common inquiry. And the reason for this is because you can start deflecting and building deflection capability for different use cases, but obviously your best bang for buck is to start with the top 3 most common inquiry. So having some knowledge of what those are is going to be important. The other thing is you need to start having an understanding of the procedure. Like, for example, when a customer asks for a refund, what is the actual process, right? In some scenario, we work with different customer. We work with a customer who are selling what goods. If you buy a washing machine and you kind of want a warranty claim, you might need to send us a photo, and we might need to have some human judgment of, is this broken, or do you just forgot to kind of remove a clip, right? So that might not be easy to completely automate, but in some other instance, you can absolutely potentially have an AI that just handle everything, right? So just having this understanding is going to be important. And then obviously, AI agent can be deployed through all your channel. So if you have voice, if you have messaging, so if your customer can message you, or email as well, right? So we can deploy this capability across your channel. And that's what makes it very, very powerful. And so you can see here, there is the what doesn't work deflection in this little image here, where a customer comes in and say, well, hey, why didn't you, why couldn't get a refund? And the AI agent says, well, the decision was made by our system. What we want to do, right, is really something like, hey, we couldn't process your refund because you're outside of the 30-day window. We want to be precise. We want to be personalized. And so that's what this strategy is all about. It's to personalize, have a genuine experience, and provide an answer to your customer instantly. So let's look at what this looks like from a demo perspective. Now, generally speaking, there is a bit of a delay on this, but I'm going to just show you the very same use case, right? So in this example, it's going to be the same use case. Sue basically wants to get a refund, and we want to be able to deflect that because it's very common. We get a lot of refund requests, and we know that we can automatically do that. And so in this case, it's not very complex, but we actually we've built a little AI agent, we've activated it, and I've turned it on to be able to reply to email. So I'm going to send an email here, and I'm not going to wait too long because this generally takes a couple of minutes. But one of the things that will happen, generally speaking, is what happened when there's no AI, you generally send the customer an automatic notification saying, yes, we've received your email. Maybe there's a ticket number, something like this. A team member will get back to you. With a deflection strategy, this is the type of email that you will get as a customer, and your team will not see that. You actually have an AI agent that generates the response for your customer. Now, I don't know if you can see that properly, but this is a very well drafted email that's been generated by our AI agent that's basically handling our email channel. And you can see here, it's very nice. Sorry to hear you received the wrong item from us. That's definitely not what we want for your shopping experience. Here's a clear, detailed step-by-step of how you can actually get a refund. Click here, do this, do that, do that. And so the main idea in this strategy, as you can clearly see here, is we don't want this to be a ticket for our team. We only want this to become a ticket when there is complexity that the AI agent can't handle. And so that's a strategy that generally is good for high volume again. And the main idea again is to really deflect. So this never becomes a ticket. And one of the critical things about this strategy is that we can report on our AI agent, and we can track everything, and we can actually understand, are we hitting the mark, right? Are we providing accurate answer? And what generally happens with this strategy as you optimize it is you probably want to start with, let's say, your top 3 inquiry. So in our case, this is refund is part of it. But as you start gathering more information, you can start looking at deflecting the top 4th and top 5th inquiry. So it's an ongoing process, but overall, it's definitely a very powerful strategy that is being used by a lot of customers. And so the things that you're measuring in this instance really is the deflection rate. So how many conversations is your AI agent able to handle entirely? Now, in terms of putting a cost and return on investment for the people in the room who want the numbers, right? Generally speaking, we will be looking at your average cost per inquiry when it's handled by your team, right? Industry average is anywhere between $7 all the way to $15. It depends on where you sit, right? And obviously that cost to serve, we call this the cost to serve, right? Is drastically reduced when you have an AI agent just replying to email, right? So we can reduce that cost by 3x or 4x pretty easily. Now, again, when this strategy is well deployed and successfully implemented, you can see a whole range of different metrics going up, but mainly including your customer satisfaction rate, because who wants to call a bank and wait on hold when there's something that just can be done very simply, right? So overall, your customer satisfaction goes up. There's actually a new things in the game now called BSAT, which is your bot satisfaction, which is your AI agent satisfaction. So it's not longer, how is your team doing? It's more like, how is the AI agent doing? Like, are all customers satisfied with our AI agent engagement with them? So overall, those are the 2 strategies that we see are having tremendous result. Again, right, you can do both. You can start with one, do the other. We've seen some really interesting use case across the customer that we've been working with, but you have to remember that there is some prerequisite in order to be able to successfully deploy initiative like this, right? Whether you're in IT, in HR, or wherever your department is. The first step is really you need to have a ticketing platform. Obviously, we are Zendesk partner, so we use Zendesk every day. Zendesk is a leader in the industry. Their investment in AI really cover those 2 different strategies. Zendesk has the capability to allow you to deploy those strategies very efficiently. But the reality is you need to have a ticketing platform with your channel connected to it so that you have a single pane of glass to be able to handle all your inquiry. By having this, you will be in a very, very good position to be able to deploy AI, and more importantly, deploy AI efficiently and report on its success. Now, there is another thing that is required is obviously AI is heavily based on your knowledge as well. So if you don't have a knowledge base, a structured knowledge that's maintained, et cetera, Zendesk has some capability that can help you build your knowledge based on historical, ticket if you already have Zendesk. But if you don't have that, let's say if you have like a share, if you currently have a shared inbox, you can use a tool like Factify where you can basically upload hundreds of thousands of historical email and have that work for you and generate a bunch of help article based on those historical interaction. The reason this is important is because any AI strategy that you're going to deploy is going to be reliant on some level of structured knowledge that you can train the AI on, whether it's a deflection for your AI agent or whether it's the AI assisted, right? Internal SOP, et cetera. So knowledge actually plays a critical role in that. And obviously there are tools out there that can allow you to fast track this knowledge piece, right? We don't want you to go and hire someone just to start working on your knowledge 24/7. This has a high cost. There are technology out there, and Zendesk also has some capability in that sense. So make sure you type in some question. We're going to go over some questions very soon if there is any, but I guess the takeaway from this and some question to ask yourself to take away back to your role, whether you're a manager or you're actually a support agent, wherever you are, whatever your industry is, there's a couple of questions you can ask yourself around if you want to deploy AI strategy, right? Do you have a ticketing platform with integrated channel? Do you have some knowledge, some structured knowledge that is sitting there that is kind of updated and trustworthy and that you're using right now? Do you have a sense of your most common inquiry type? And then, is there some reporting? Do you currently have some metrics that you're reporting on, right? Do you have your first reply time and other things that you'd want to potentially be able to measure? Obviously, if you're ready, you can start tinkering around those different strategy. This is recorded. You'll be able to access those slides recording later on. And then if you need some groundwork, obviously, you can reach out to us. Either way, we'll be able to help you out. But we'll definitely recommend you getting started with a ticketing platform. If you don't have that, this is really your first step. And then second step is probably starting thinking about your knowledge base. Aside from that, I'll kind of invite you in. We would like to offer one-on-one consultation with everyone who's in the room. So if you wanna have a chat with myself and some other of our team who are product expert, we've been in the industry for a while. Feel free to book a consultation. We'll be very happy to kind of catch up, understand your need, and hopefully share some more insights. But yeah, over to you, Jess.
Yeah, thank you very much for all that information, Hugo. I know that might have been a lot for some people. So if you do have any questions, the audience chat, I'll just type in it for you guys. If you would like to ask some questions in there, we can get Hugo to answer them.
Awesome. If not, you can always email me or book a consultation at hugo@gravity.cx. Otherwise, thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, if there's no questions either, we want to say thank you for joining us anyway. We hope you found everything insightful. So within the next hour, you will get an email with the replay on there. And there is also a feedback form in the email. It would be great if you guys could fill that out for us just so we can understand what worked, what didn't work, and just improve the webinars moving forward. But yeah, if there's no questions.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Jess, for organizing that.
Thanks.
And we'll see you in the next one.
No worries. Bye.